So let's get on to our very first conversation for tonight, and it's about the internal affairs of the APC. Now, a deputy national chairman of the party, Northwest, Malam Salihu Lukman, has written an open letter to the leadership of the APC under Senator Abdullah Adamu, warning about the manner in which the party is being run at the moment, saying that, quote, the title of his open letter, Restoring Constitutional Order in APC and Demands. Malam Lukman, this is not the first time he will be writing to warn the party about looming dangers in the manner in which the party is following its own constitution and running its own affairs. Tonight, he's raising a few issues also, drawing the attention of the leadership of the party, himself a leader of the party. What are the dangers ahead looming in the ruling political party in Nigeria? I'm being joined by Malam Salih Muhammad Lukman, who is the Deputy National Vice Chairman of the APC Northwest. He joins us virtually from Kaduna. Thank you so much indeed for joining us, and it's good to see you. Give us an understanding. You seem to have a worry. You've written an open letter. For someone of your caliber and status in the party to take that move, then there must be a fire on the mountain. Does he need that the national chairman and the leadership of the party to be on the run or take cover?
Well, I really don't know whether there is fire on the mountain, but the concern is simple. There are constitutional provisions which set up structures and organs for the party and give directive in terms of the schedule of meetings for those organs. And it is expected that when those organs meet, any issue within the party can be tackled. Once you block those organs from meeting, then you reduce decisions within the party to the discretion of individuals. And that is the problem. And once you don't allow structures to function, we will continue to face different kind of problem, and there will be contestation in terms of the legality of the decisions taken. Because one way or the other, once decisions are taken, it will favor some people, it will not favor others. If it is an individual that takes that decision, the people who feel unfavored can continue to fight. But once it is an organ that meets, it means that every view within the party is considered and decision is taken, and therefore it will be binding on everybody. Now, that is the issue.
So let's take it one after the other. In your open letter, you raise quite a few issues. One pertaining into irregular meetings as stipulated by the constitution of your party, the issue of accountability, the issue of proactive leadership, the issue of reviewing the past events and incidences that have happened in the country for lessons to be learned in the party. These are issues that you have asked Senator Abdullah Adamu to respond to. But before we get into those issues, and I'd like you to take them on, because you have also warned that these are constitutional provision which the party does not have a choice to dodge away from, but must address those issues. But when you wrote this open letter, has there been any response from the national chairman?
Well, I can say straight away, I've not received any response yet. I am hoping I'll get such a response. And I am very confident, like in the past, we can go through all this hurdle, but at the end of the day, we'll sort ourselves. We are not contesting these issues to bring the party down, no. This is one party that I think has received a lot of blessings from party leaders and members, and has received a lot of blessings from Nigerians. And inability to respect those blessings and acknowledge that the expectation of Nigerians is that we represent the future of democracy in this country. We can't continue to take that for granted. Democracy is about rule of law. The first law within a political party is the constitution of the party. And I tell you, Sheun, and I keep arguing this, as Nigerians, if we want to build this democracy, we must invest time, resources, and whatever we have in the development of the party. Because once we are unable to develop the party, we reduce democracy to periodic elections. And periodic election will produce representatives. But if there is no party, or the party lack capacity to regulate the conduct of people who are elected, Nigerians will continue to have problems. And I think the best way you can regulate the conduct of elected representatives is to allow organs of the party to meet and decisions taken. Once decisions are taken, those decisions are binding on every member of the party, including elected representatives, no matter how highly placed they are.
Yeah. So let me. So just yet again, before I go into, you are able to answer the question whether or not Senator Abdullah Adamu has responded to this issue, and it is worrisome, isn't it, that you are a member of the NWC, and you perhaps have raised these issues a few times, but I mean there are no yielding to your concern. Now, in that open letter, you feel a bit dismayed and somewhat overwhelmed by the ongoings in the party, and you use the word, you say you are scandalized and embarrassed by the situation of things, which in inference, if you look at what has happened and what you have described in this letter, it shows lack of capacity of leadership in your party. You have made reference to the fact that there are no regular meetings. Even the ratifications of policy decisions of the party, there are hardly moments when the NWC members or leaders of the party are able to meet. Is this a poor leadership issue, or there is a challenge somewhere that a lot of people are not aware of?
I think I will put it this way, we are all part of the problem, because, for instance, when the Constitution stipulates that National Executive Council should meet every quarter, for instance, and 3 months pass, no meeting held, and nobody is asking questions. And specifically, there are statutory issues the NEC is directed by the Constitution to decide on. Some of those include, for instance, there should be a national budget. There should be quarterly report of activities. There should be quarterly report of finances covering income and expenditure. A number of these things are supposed to be decided, approved by NEC. Now, when a NEC doesn't take place, somebody take decision on a number of these issues. And we all become, one way or the other, either beneficiaries or however you describe it, to those decisions. And we feel comfortable about it. Yet, the institution of the party continue to get weakened. I give you a typical example. Now, one of the statutory requirements which the NEC direct the NWC to facilitate by way of presenting proposal to NEC is that we should present proposed guidelines for conduct of elections at all levels. Now, the National Assembly, the two chambers of the National Assembly are going to be inaugurated, I guess either first week or second week of June, and already there is contest for leadership. We are not taking any step as NWC to prepare a proposed guideline for the conduct of those elections within our party rank, and we are not preparing to convene a NEC meeting to give the approval. Yet we know as Nigerians, there are certain issues we can take for granted. As Nigerians, we know that the question of representation is very key. As a party, and I have highlighted this before, we have run the 2023 election with the Muslim ticket purely as an electoral strategy. Now, if that is the case, we have produced 2 senior ranking officers in government, the highest ranking officers in government, as Muslim. And we know that people have opportunistically used that to create ethnic and religious tension in the country. We can't take that for granted. And therefore, to leave the place vacant and allow people, including Muslims, to now aspire, for instance, for the Senate president, which is the number 3 person, it means that as a party, we are setting the stage to produce all the 3 highest ranking officers as Muslims. We know that no matter how highly placed an individual is, he cannot change the constitution of the country. But there is there is sentiment to some of it.
But Malam Saliu, I mean, could those people who describe the leadership under Senator Abdullah Adamu as a weak leadership, would they be right?
I don't. You see, it's not within my calling to start passing judgment now. My position now is to place the demands. And I believe when a statutory organ of the party is convened, a number of these issues and the capacity of Abdullah Adamu to manage this meeting cannot be contested.
No, but you have put up some grounds here upon which your demands are standing. And those who have criticized the Senator Abdullah Adamu initiative as a leader of the party to say there is a weak leadership of the APC that has not been able to bring this to pass. Since you released the open letter, there are those who defer to say, look, there is no capacity at the very top in the running of the affairs of the party. They might have some of their sentiments right, isn't it?
Well, look, what I have argued, which I have reflected in that open letter, is that, look, he came highly recommended, and there is no doubt from his experience and pedigree, he has what it takes to run the affairs of the party. And I tell you, I mean, when we started, he really gave us the confidence that we are moving in the right direction. For instance, it was his initiative to set up a transition committee. And they gave us a very good report. But thereafter, the problem is implementing the report of the transition committee, which require pronouncement by meetings of organs. And like I said in that open letter, maybe perhaps because we came at a time when we need to produce candidates for election, we were all overwhelmed. Now that that has passed, I think we need to come back to basics. Now the issue, and this is what gave me the restless kind of fear, if we allow all this problem to manifest, in such a way that it produces a leadership, or it produces the government of Asuwaju is starting on a very controversial takeoff. We are not going to be fair to that government. And I think it's the responsibility of the party to ensure that that government start on a very healthy ground. And that is why I said, look, it will appear if we fail to convene this meeting, we are abdicating our responsibility as a party. And mark my word, I keep saying we, because I'm part of that leadership. I'm not singling Abdullah Adamu, and I believe being part of that leadership, I can have the legitimacy to raise my voice and argue the way I'm arguing, and with the hope that it can draw the attention of both Senator Abdullah Adamu and every leader of the party to agree to do the right thing. Because if you do the right thing, at the end of the day, it's not the one that will benefit. It's the party that will.
So there are those who are of the view that a government in power needs the political shield and that defense to come from its political party. And when that happens, it allows the government of the day to work effectively without being distracted or being overwhelmed by the politics that play on from the opposition and the general happenings in the polity. But now, when we imagine that Bola Tinubu is being described as a versatile political leader of your party. In fact, he was being referred to up until his election as the leader of your party. Would you think that there is something that he needs to do fast Because those who fear that if things go on like this, it might impact on the Bola Tinubu government if he gets into office, that the pressure will be much. There won't be a form of defense for the government of Bola Tinubu because the politics will be too much and it might distract that government from performing. Do you hold this view?
I do, and I don't know. Let me not commit myself too much. But first, let me say that in the first place, this party is a product of the inspirational relationship between Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu and President Muhammadu Buhari. Their partnership and friendship, political friendship, was what produced the success story of the merger negotiation of 2012-2013 of the opposition parties. And is that partnership that helped us to galvanize the support across the country to be able to defeat a ruling party in 2015. And I think, and this is the point which I am happy you bring to the table about the role of the party. The party at this point is supposed to really ensure that relationship, that strong relationship continue, especially in this period of transition, and is used to set the stage for the incoming government. And that moving forward, we must not allow a situation whereby any decision taken by Asiwaju will be seen as different from any decision, for instance, President Buhari may have taken now. You know, I think the responsibility of the party as I'm trying to remember how you put it, as the cover, the political cover for the government is the one that will determine whether the government of Asiwaju will substantially benefit from the historic relationship that existed between him and President Buhari. And I think it's our capacity to convene those organ meetings, because those organs will, at the minimum, bring the two of them together. And while they are there, they have to consult and guide us to take the right decision, just like they did during the period of the merger. I think this is the minimum the party can do.
You did some historical, you threw back to the crisis in the party and how some of the past leaders and leadership of the party have been bedeviled by a similar scenario that played out. And you gave instances of the John Odiga Yegun's leadership and that of Adams Oshiomhole, who you said that those leadership were actually fractured in part by inability to hold quarterly meetings and periodic meetings. And now that this is happening, you raised the issue of accountability on finances, issue of periodic meetings, issue of proactiveness, issue of review of what has happened in the election and charting a way forward for the party. How soon do you think that this can be done? Already, there is a failure of the party to do the first quarter meeting from January to March, which is the first quarter, as demanded by the constitution of your party. Should anybody go to court on this matter, your party might be found guilty of some of these issues. What do you think must be done and how fast can this be done?
Well, I have said it and I want to repeat myself. I think at the minimum, between now and May 29, we must hold an committee. And like I said, I am ready to go to every length to compel us as party leaders to comply with provisions of our constitution. I think this is the minimum we can do to save our party and to ensure to even save our leaders. Because our leaders may feel they are comfortable doing what they are doing, but they are setting the stage for their self-destruction. And I think this needs to be stopped, and we need to move forward with confidence. Because look, meetings is the first preparatory ground to really even discover prospective leaders. Now, if you freeze the structures and you block them from holding meetings, you are blocking the capacity. And that is why you see now we have reduced democracy to only one thing, which is periodic election. Periodic election will happen only once every 4 years. After the 4 years, what happened? Now I tell you, because we are not holding meetings, we are not holding ourselves accountable. There are many of our elected representatives that have never cited copies of our manifesto. And it's only through meetings we can get them to really understand this is the mandate which the party campaign for. You know, for instance, Aswaju has done something very good. He come up with his own program, Renewed Hope. You know, now for the next 4 years, his government is supposed to run based on that delivery on those things. You know, people are going to be appointed. If care is not taken, if the party is not active, we will have people at the highest level as ministers and highly government appointees. They don't even know the commitment of the Aswaju government to Nigerians. They will just be doing their thing. And as a party, we need to wake up to those responsibilities. And I think that is, which is why, for instance, go and read the profile of His Excellency Senator Abdullahi Adem. He has been on the political bloc at national level, at the highest level, since the Second Republic. So this should not be anything new. And I don't think you should have problem relating with the demands some of us are making, you know. But however it turns out, I think we should be able to go to every length to ensure that at the minimum before May 29, we have a next meeting where a number of these issues should be addressed.
And this is the point where I would like us to anchor. There are those who have been asking that your party need a board of trustees, but I do hear that there is in fact a version of that is not being called a board of trustees, but it's called the National Advisory Council of the APC, but is yet is not constituted just yet. Is it the non-constitution of that body? Is it also due to this inability to hold periodic meetings, or?
I think that one falls squarely. I will link that straight away to the National Secretary, because if you read our Constitution, it directed the National Secretary to convene meeting of the National Administrative Council within 1 month after election. So we were elected March 28th. So by April 28, 2022, the first meeting of the National Administrative Council should have taken place. I don't know whether the National Secretary even understood that is part of his responsibility. I don't know whether at any point, at least I can say, there has never been a meeting of National Working Committee where he presented a proposal for the meeting, for convening the meeting of National Administrative Council.
So the party is just running on autopilot. That's what it looks like.
Look, this is the thing. And I'm sure if you go and audit all the other parties, including PDP, you are going to have even worse scenario than this.
Madam Salihu, as he's done in other climes, there are sometimes mainstream politicians who, are involved in the day-to-day running of the party. But is it also known that, or understood by politicians that they need a properly trained administrators, those whose business is day-to-day running, like you're running a business, an organization, a non-governmental organization, that is how to run a political party structure. Is your party aware of this?
You see, there is what I call the PDP virus that is dominant everywhere in our polity. The PDP virus is simple, that the main thing about democracy is election. And for you to win election, you just need money. And the starting point is that you must control the structures of the party. So everybody wants to ensure that if I want to be like a governor, I must have all the structures in my state controlled by me. So the first thing, I need people who just say yes to me. Now, I think to correct that is to begin to draw attention that you can really become a governor by way of, look, Buhari, but I don't think Buhari has control structures of any of them, including the APC. But he has such a moral standing that wherever he is respected. I think that is what politicians should be working to achieve, rather than controlling structures. Now, if your own focus is achieving that moral standing, you can then have people who, when they come to you and say, no, we don't think your decision on XYZ is the right way to go. We think you need to consider APC. You will now take offense. I mean, once you have such a highly moral, and that is why you can see Buhari is so confident. He allow you to run your affairs. He just give you the mandate. Go ahead.
Yeah.
You know.
So.